Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to play Gholdengo. First I'm going to go over the list that I played in the games, and then we're going to get into the games, and after that I will go over how I would build the list after playing all these games with it, and just talk about the deck in general. The other list is only a few cards different. First of all, we have Gholdengo. It's a 260 hit point metal type stage 1 Pokemon with an ability that says draw a card. If you're in the active, you can draw another card. So draw 2 in the active is, it's just good. And it has an attack for 1 metal that does 50 for each energy we discard from our hand. Now, this can be any energy type, and it essentially ends up being unlimited damage for just 1 energy attachment. We also have the Togekiss line. Togekiss has an ability that says when you knock out your opponent's active Pokemon, flip a coin. If heads, take another prize. This is really good. It can swing the prize trade in our favor in matchups that we're behind, and we can just win faster in general. I have a Clef in here, just something to do when we're going second. A lot of our Pokemon have 1 retreat, so it works out. Fezandipiti EX, of course, for draw, and Greninja, of course, for draw. This deck has a weird draw engine with the Ciphermaniac, Morty, and 1 Roxanne. Cipher because at early game we can draw the cards with PokéStop or Greninja, and then later in the game we can draw them with Gholdengo or Fezandipiti or whatever. Also have Morty because we just want a card that just draws cards, and Morty says discard a card from your hand and draw cards equal to the number of bench Pokemon your opponent has, so this can be pretty good. The new ace spec in this deck is Energy Search Pro. We can grab 1 energy of every type that's in our deck. That's why we have this outrageous energy lineup, so it can just let us get like 8 or 9 energy out of our deck, which is kind of insane card value. We just have to find it early, but the Cipher lets us do that. And the rest of the cards are just to support the engine of the deck, the PokéStop stretcher, Poffins and Nest Balls and stuff. Yeah, that is the list. Let's get into the games. Alright, so this first game we're up against Archaludon Dialga. I don't know, this is probably a pretty decent matchup as long as they can't be too devastating on the turn that they're able to use their V-Star. Here I am just debating putting the Clef in play or not, and I do end up benching it. Also, I think I won the coin flip in this and chose to go first. This is a deck that we always want to go first so that we can evolve and start attacking. Yeah, starting Greninja isn't the end of the world. We just have to make sure that we attach an energy to either the Greninja or the bench so that retreating next turn is an option. Definitely always make sure to do that. My opponent's playing a Nest Ball. That is like one of the downsides of the Archaludon. You can't Poffin for 2 of them because Duraludon's just a tanky Pokemon, so it has 130 hit points. It all makes sense, but they do end up getting a Squawkabilly. Now next turn, I'm really just hoping that they fill their bench up because this hand is not the greatest if they don't fill up their bench. And if either way, I'm probably going to have to just use Morty's and Morty away the Togekiss to draw at least 1 card as of right now. But my opponent still has like an opportunity to use a supporter and stuff, so definitely hoping that they do that. I think they do. I think they end up using Iono, which is kind of nice. Definitely wasn't the biggest fan in the world of that hand. This hand is quite a bit better, and we can also do the Cipher PokéStop combo if worse comes to worse. Probably Cipher for like an Ultra Ball and Energy Search Pro if we can't already get into a Gholdengo any other way, because I think that should be enough to knock out the active. But since we top deck the energy, I figure I use a PokéStop first, see what we get, and then I can Greninja and use the Cipher after that. And now I'm able to just get Gholdengo and Energy Search Pro instead of having to Ultra Ball away cards from the hand. And that should get me more than enough to knock out this active Pokemon. This card, the card value in this card is just insane. Like, that's not really usually a huge thing in Pokemon. Like, we don't think about that too much, but just 1 card to get 8 cards for no cost is pretty nuts. I guess the cost is in the way you have to build the deck and playing all the different types of energy. But yeah, just bench the rest of the Pokemon here, evolve to another Gholdengo. And this is kind of why this deck doesn't play a ton of draw supporters. A lot of the time you can just, once you get 1 Gholdengo, it kind of rolls into other ones, and then at that point you'd rather just pick cards out of your deck rather than like Iono your hand lower, because you end up in these weird hands with 2 or 3 superiors, and then you don't want to Iono those to the bottom, and you can't use them before the Iono, so adding to your hand tends to be better. My opponent is not able to knock me out this turn, which is kind of nice, but this is kind of like the thing with the Archaludon deck, is they want to hit you for 220, finish you off with the V-Star of the Dialga and then knock out another Pokemon on their next free turn, so they end up taking a 4-prize swing. My opponent doesn't disrupt my hand either, which is kind of nice. Definitely like to see that. And here I'm thinking, oh, I'm definitely knocking out that Dialga V, but they do end up getting another one. I'm kind of surprised. I didn't expect them to play such a even 2 Dialga. I guess 2-1 kind of makes sense because there's not one in the discard pile anymore, but I just didn't expect it. Kind of caught me off a little bit. So here I'm like trying to think what would be best to knock out, and it is just the active. I'm pretty sure they're already down 2 Archaludons in the discard pile, so I think knocking out the active gives me the best chance for them to not get a V-Star off next turn, and that's kind of my goal. If they only bench 1 Dialga, I'd obviously just boss that up and knock it out, but they bench 2, so that is not an option. Here I'm just kind of trying to get into a rare candy for this Togekiss, because while it would put me to 1 prize left, and that does kind of suck, it takes away the option for them to just push a single prizer if they like don't have anything going on in their hand. So I definitely want to get that rare candy now and just, yeah, see if I can't take an extra prize. I candy out the Archaludon. Here I'm just debating if I want to use the energy retrieval or not to get an extra attachment down onto a Gholdengo, because I think, yeah, now I have 6, so I'd have to either use retrieval or Night Stretcher, and I might want to save the Night Stretcher for, I don't know, maybe I don't want to save it. Maybe I should just commit to burning that. I do think I end up using the retrieval though. Yeah, I think I checked for vessels, and now I'm going to leave an energy in my deck to have vessel as an out to 1 energy. Either way, because if they get things the way that they want them, they're going to V-Star this guy and boss up my other Gholdengo with the metal on it the next turn anyway. But if they don't, just having that 1 extra metal attached would just be nice, because now off an Iono to 1, I could always like get an attachment, retreat into the other Gholdengo and draw 2 more cards. And that is like one idea for this deck, is to play switches to get as many like 2-card draws as you can. It also would have been nice, like really nice right here, if I had a switch or even a Turo. I could have picked up this Gholdengo or just moved it to the bench to make it so that they would need boss into Iono instead of, or they'd basically need back-to-back dust, because no matter what, I'm pushing like Cleffa off of them knocking out this Gholdengo or whatever Gholdengo they would end up knocking out. I guess if it had no HP, they wouldn't be able to knock it out with the V-Star, so it would kind of be pointless for them to use it. And that's like another reason to not bench Fezandipiti ahead of time in this specific matchup, to just give them a guaranteed out to 2 prizes. But yeah, it kind of would have been nice to have on the bench, like in this, just the way that this exact game worked out, but we don't. I feel pretty good about drawing the cards we need. I'm pretty sure this Archaludon deck plays PokéStop. I'm not sure though. I don't know. I see a lot of the list play PokéStop, and then I run into random ones that don't, and they Ultra Ball away one. So now it's confirmed my PokéStop should stay in play. I was looking at the discard because one of their Duraludons is the wrong one, so I was kind of surprised by that. And yeah, now I just promote the Cleffa and hope they don't have boss, but they just drew 6 off Iono, 3 off Fez, and they're going to draw another 3 off of Fez, so they're going to have the boss. It's like there's no cards left in their deck. It would be more shocking if they didn't have it. So yeah, I think it actually like takes them a minute to get it, because I think they end up Pokegearing for it, yeah. Which is kind of weird. They must play a low count of boss, is what I was thinking, but oh, they PokéStopped one away in the game. I remember when I was playing this game, I thought they Ultra Balled away that other boss for some reason, but they PokéStopped it away. That makes more sense. And they do boss up my other Gholdengo. And I'll probably just, I don't know, promoting Clef is fine. Like promoting the free retreater is always good, but in this deck it can be different if you can get into it, like promote Gholdengo and then get into another Gholdengo, but that's not the way it's going to work. I don't even have another one down anyway, so I should just promote Cleffa. There's really no reason not to. And then I can rip the PokéStop and see what we get. So as soon as I top deck the Superior, I'm pretty sure that we're going to end up being able to get this knockout. Yeah, it's just going to keep rolling into other stuff because I could Superior these away, draw with Greninja, and yeah. I almost Grasping Draw, or almost clicked Grasping Draw by accident. But I'm just using everything before the Mortys, because if I get into a Cypher, I could Superior for some energy, Cypher for another Superior, and then Greninja into it. And that would be fine, but yeah, I'm just going to end up using the Morty here. And I do draw into another Superior, luckily. Just grab metals, because those are the most important. I wouldn't want to not grab one of those. And yeah, now we have plenty of energy to knock out this active. My opponent actually doesn't concede. One of their challenges for the day must be play 2 matches without conceding, because usually everyone does. And we flip tails on the second Togekiss, but it does not matter. Alright, so the second game we are up against a pretty interesting Miraidon deck, which is why I chose to pick this game. I did choose to go first, and this hand is not the best. I'm debating just not even benching the Fezandipiti, because if they knock out this Gimmighoul, the game is probably pretty much lost anyway, I would imagine. But I do decide to bench it because, in theory, if they knocked it out with something that's not Iron Hands, and I got down to Togekiss and flipped double heads, I would still be able to win the game. But yeah, they are. It looks like they're kind of off to a rough start because they do have to use Mew. So I'm really hoping to not see an attack, or if they do have to attack, maybe their only switch option is Prime Catcher and they have to knock out the bench guy. That would be another reason to not bench the Fez too, though, so that they didn't have the option to even use a Prime Catcher to get out of the active. But either way, I used it, and I'm just debating here what I want to get rid of. I want to keep the energy around as an option for Greninja, and yeah, so I get rid of the boss, and I don't know, I'm just kind of drawing ridiculous this game. I used the PokéStop and just ripped double boss. So now all my boss orders are down. Yeah, this list wasn't playing Pal Pad at first. I did cut a boss for a Pal Pad from this list for the list that I showed at the beginning, because it should have always had a Pal Pad in it. It just makes no sense to not run Pal Pad in a PokéStop deck, or a deck that plans to use PokéStop like every turn if we can. So now the only gust option we have left is a counter catcher, which kind of sucks, especially when they're playing like the Pikachu. If we have no gust, we're unable to get around the Pikachu if they want to just like shove it up to buy a turn or something like that. And here they electric generator, hit 1 to the Pikachu, and then use Crispin. This just blew my mind. I thought they misclicked at first. So I'm like, oh my god, they hit 2 lightning off the first generator with a Miraidon deck playing grass, metal, and Crispin in it. I just didn't really know what to think of this. This is just one of those like PDCG or PDCG live moments where you're like, only on live would you ever find yourself in this situation with this combination of cards, a Miraidon deck with a Rotom, a Pikachu EX, and grass and metal energies, and a way to set it up all in one turn. I don't know, that caught me off guard, wasn't really expecting that, and now I'm forced to use the last gust to get around this Pikachu. But this is kind of why like the Togekiss is so insane in this deck, or really in any deck probably that you can fit it in, is there's still a chance to win this game even though that just happened. Like, all I have to do is gust once and have them not be able to set up the Pikachu again, because that would, I don't know, I'm not expecting that to happen. That would be absolutely insane if they could do that. And if they attack with anything else and we just flip heads on the Togekiss, we would win the game. It would have been much better to be able to already have it in play this turn, but I probably should have grabbed a Togepi off of the Buddy Poffin that I did last turn when I grabbed double Gimmighoul. I don't know, that was probably a mistake in hindsight, since I did know that I would probably need to flip heads on one to win the prize trade if they could knock out this that Gholdengo. I didn't really expect them to be able to, so I suppose that's why I didn't. And here I'm debating if I want to burn this other Superior to knock out their Fezandipiti, or just knock out the Mew EX. I have the 4 energy in hand, just leave it in my deck. And I do choose to knock out the Mew, In hindsight, maybe it would have been worth it to just knock out the Fezandipiti, especially like if I'm not down any other superiors, and I'm pretty sure that I am not at this point. Just basically all my energy are in the discard pile. So they immediately promote the Iron Hands. I'm assuming they have a double turbo. So they're playing Lightning, Grass, Metal, and double turbo energies. And yeah, they probably also have a boss's orders is what I was thinking. They do have a boss. I thought they counter captured this turn for some reason, which does make more sense in Miraidon now than it ever has. And at this point, I do have a 50-50 chance to win the game, which is kind of cool. But I'm going to Poffin here just to burn the Poffin. I don't think that I will grab the Cleffa, just keep everything out of Iron Hands range, and I just use the Roxanne. I don't bench the Greninja for that reason. I don't know how much sense that makes in hindsight. Oh, I still didn't really know if I was going to draw the knockout. If I draw a way to knock out this guy though, it really doesn't make sense to not bench the Greninja. I guess the only thought is that I don't want to make it easier for them with Raikou. And I bumped their stadium, which I do believe is another mistake. I don't know. I was hoping that they would get rid of their Pikachu or something because I didn't have a way to get around it the next turn, but of course they keep the Pokemon that they need. Why wouldn't they? So I shouldn't have bumped that and given them an extra draw opportunity. I should have just left the stadium in play, but I was like convincing myself of things that weren't going to happen. I guess the Raikou is a valid thing to be afraid of with the stadium. They haven't shown a Raikou yet, but I have to assume that they play it. And here I do flip Tails, which means we still have a decent chance to win the game, especially if I didn't use the stadium here. And they promote the Iron Hands because everything has free retreat, so it doesn't really matter what they promote. But the worst part is, even if they just retreat to Pikachu, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't get around the Pikachu or anything. So this is where like the Iron Bundle Eerie package would be good, like we saw from the top 4 list at Sacramento. And they do use the PokéStop and end up hitting a counter catcher. And they get a Sparkling Crystal. I don't know. I don't even know what to think of this deck. The fact that it worked is kind of incredible. Yeah, they Nest Ball just to thin their deck, and they do end up ripping double Lightning Energy. And of course they have the counter catcher in their hand. It's all just, I don't know. This game was outrageous. That's kind of why I wanted to put it in the video. But yeah, so the Gholdengo matchup is probably pretty favored into Miraidon. As long as the bench is at 3 or less, Raikou can't knock out the Gholdengo, and Miraidon doesn't really play like the Metal and Crisp and stuff like that. The deck gets way too clunky and you start whiffing too many generators, or you cut any amount of consistency to add more lightning energies to hit generators, and then you just can't find your generators because you can't draw cards. I think regular Miraidon lists are really riding the edge of like so much greed that the deck doesn't even function. Yeah, this is the list that I ended up ending with this deck. Probably mess with a little more. It was kind of fun. Everyone says this deck is like really fun to play. I didn't think it was really fun to play. It was kind of annoying. I dislike not playing many draw supporters. It feels overwhelmingly greedy, but the majority of the games when you get set up, it feels like you don't need draw supporters anyway. That is why I just found the space for the Lumineon plus Cyrano, or however you say this. Just it grabs 3 EXs out of your deck. So we can grab like triple Gholdengo, or Gholdengo, Fezandipiti. It just seems pretty good. And even later in the game, you can just thin the last Gholdengo out of your deck if you want to, or just discard it off PokéStop or Ultra Ball or Superior and not really care. There's not really much else different about this. There's just one less Togekiss and no Cleffa to make the space for those 2 cards. This deck is definitely scary to play against now with the Togekiss. Before it was the Prime Catcher canceling clone. Now it's like, oh, if they flip 1 heads, they can just fix the prize trade and win. Or if you're feeling lucky, definitely try out the deck. You can win against like EX decks in 2 turns if you flip 2 heads, or can afford to knock out a 1 prizer and then just flip heads on one of the next 2 EXs. Just there probably are times when you don't want to put it in play, like in the Archaludon game. It was definitely questionable if I should have put it in play or not, but it stopped them from being able to push a 1 prizer if they didn't like draw what they needed and just needed to buy a turn. The energy type is interesting, but I never had problem finding the metals. It was just kind of annoying to find energies sometimes. Like more vessels would be nice, maybe. It just doesn't really make sense because if you get the Energy Search Pro early, you almost never need a vessel again throughout the game. So that's why I went to 2 vessels. The 4 superior and 1 regular retrieval. I don't know why when I go to play this deck, I always think that I'm not going to have enough energy, but I don't even know if you need the 1 energy retrieval now. It does make like knocking out stage 2 EX a little bit easier. You don't need to burn 2 superior energy retrievals. You just need 1 in the retrieval and an energy from hand. But yeah, other than that, the deck's pretty straightforward. You draw a lot of cards and just do one shots, and it has the bonus of you almost always are going to start a 1 prizer. That would be the argument to not play Lumineon for sure. You're doubling the odds of starting a 1 prize Pokemon, but there's still 7 Pokemon that we could start that are not 1 prizers or not 2 prize Pokemon. So the odds are definitely in favor of that. And something about this deck that is definitely really big is just being able to go first and present a 1 prize board against any of the big beat stick decks. Miraidon is the only one that can really get around that with the Iron Hands, but then they have a hard time just knocking out Gholdengo EXs in general, as long as we can keep our bench not like less than 3, like I said. So yeah, it's definitely favored into all the big beat stick decks, and you can have a good time into the stage 2 decks too, because almost all of them are planning to throw off the prize trade at some point, or have the first attack on a 1 prizer not make a difference in the game. And with the Togekiss, that kind of ruins their plans as long as we can flip aheads. So yeah, like or dislike, comment, subscribe, take care, and have a good one.